Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I'm here with another journal flip through, and this time it's of my 2022 Unraveling journal, aka my one little word journal. I call it that. It's definitely my Unraveling journal for the year, but I add in that one little word factor into it because I did my response to one little word in the book as well. So it's broken down by month. Like that's just how one little word, the course by Ali Edwards, is. And some months I did the prompts for the class, and then some months I didn't, and I just did my own thing like I normally do in my Unraveling journals. So I kind of meshed the two together this year, and I've already signed up for One Little Word for 2023, and I will be taking the course. Will I be sticking to it kind of like how I stuck to this one? I'm not sure yet. I really signed up for the Zoom calls because I really enjoyed having that monthly check-in with sort of like the team and everything each month, even if I didn't do the prompts for that month, because there are some months that I just didn't just do anything. And like I'll show you more in depth in here that I just kind of didn't really follow through with my word like I had intended to. And that's just because of all these different personal things that I was going through last year. So it happens, right? But I really enjoyed the Zoom calls, and I liked the fact that because I was following the class, because I got an email every month saying, hey, the new lesson's up, hey, the mid-month content is up, I went back into the classroom just to like read and watch the videos and all the things, even if I didn't do the actual lesson. But it kept me accountable to my word, even if I wasn't really, even if I kind of abandoned my word. I hate using that word abandoned, but I kind of just didn't fulfill the word thing like I felt like I needed to, right? So yeah, so that's why I signed up for it, because I really enjoyed the Zoom calls and I liked the accountability that the class gave me to my word. Like I felt accountable to check in with my word each month because I was taking the class. So I plan on going back to like my full sort of unraveling process that I did years before in like a separate journal, and just doing that whole creative photography mixed with my journaling and all that stuff again. But I will be adding the whole one little word back into it. But this one is mostly, I think it's mostly one little word with bits of my own things spread in. So I'm just going to give you hopefully a quick flip through of it. I'm not going to go in depth on every single entry, only because it's fairly personal, but this is my journal that I kept, and it is an altered book. And I bought a used copy of Susanna Conway's This I Know from eBay for like $3, and I gutted it and I used the cover, which is this beautiful yellow cover. I love the color of it, and I love the size of this book. Like, if you've never read this book, it's wonderful. I love Susanna Conway. I mention her all the time. She's basically the person that I got the whole idea of the Unraveling journal from. She does this thing, well, she used to do this thing on her blog where she used to blog. She calls it her unraveling process. And she had a class called Unraveling that was more photography focused. And for her, she mentions it in the book. There's a beautiful, beautiful quote. Do I actually have it in here? I think I do have it in my one little word journal right here. Oh my God. Since I gutted this book, I took the quote that's in the book, that's highlighted in the book, and I just pasted it right in to my journal. This is what she writes in her book, this book here. It's called This I Know by Susanna Conway. And this is the definition here. Unraveling is not a bad thing. It is not coming undone or losing control. It's letting go in the best possible way, untangling the knots that hold you back, unwrapping the gifts you've hidden for far too long, unearthing the potential that's always been there, finally ditching the labels and should-haves, and letting yourself be what you were always meant to be. And so that's basically that's what unraveling means to her. And I just kind of took that and like her sharing of like her personal unraveling process. And I just kind of flipped it on its head for me and sort of made it, kind of intertwined it with creativity and all those things. And what evolved from that, from following her, you know, kind of her teachings on unraveling your heart and everything, it became my unraveling journals. And I've just been doing that. I've been doing that sort of self growth. It's like, you know, personal growth journey through that lens. And for me, I used to have a hard time kind of just sitting down and journaling, because I know that's what Susanna Conway does. She like has journals of just pure writing. And like for me, I've always struggled with that. This year, I've kind of had like an enlightened moment, and that's literally all I do now in my journals is write. But when I first started doing it, I just couldn't gel with her process of journaling it out. I needed some sort of creative component intertwined with it. And so that's how my unraveling journals were born. And I call it unraveling journals because I'm doing the process and they're the journals for that process. So that's like the long thing, but this is the book. This is the book, This I Know by Susanna Conway, where that is from. And she talks about it all the time in her blog and all the things. So yeah, she's kind of like the fairy godmother of that. And like other ideas, I pull things from The Artist's Way, since I'm kind of intermingling it with my creativity, because I think your personal growth and your self-exploration, I think it goes hand in hand with your creativity, to be quite honest, because the more creative you are, the more you let yourself be creative and try new things, you grow from that and you grow as a person. And creativity, whether it's art, whether it's photography, whether it's writing, whatever it is, it definitely is a lens, you know, to who you are, who you want to be, and who you eventually become. And so for me, it kind of all goes hand in hand. Anyway, that's a little background. This is my journal that I kept, and my word for 2022 was becoming. And so the definition that I have for it is beginning to be. And so I put it here right on the front cover page here. And I just, again, did my whole collage bit. This journal, there's a lot of writing. There's a lot of sort of, you know, kind of paper crafting, shall we say. It's not really a junk journal, but it's, you know, it's like a hodgepodge of just things. Like, I don't actually know how I would describe my journaling style anymore, because I used to keep, you know, the memory keeping, the scrapbooking separate from like the art journaling, which was separate from the junk journaling, which was separate from like my more creative journals. And like I just kept everything separate because for me they were like distinct things. Now I've kind of thrown all of that out the window and I just do whatever the hell I want in my journal. Like, it's just a hodgepodge of all the things. So it's mostly scrappy, lots of journaling, maybe some inspiration taking from the junk journal community, but not a real junk journal, if that makes sense. But yeah, so that is my word. And I did the whole first lesson here from one little word. So I have my little reason why, and what I did here was I made like a tiered pocket. I did this before for a Felicity Jane assignment, but I made a tiered pocket with all these beautiful papers. And so my journal, the papers that I used were like a mixture of Pink Fresh Studio, I forget what collection, some Maggie Holmes Garden Party, and then some printables from Nazi at Emily Bloom. And yeah, so it's like these are the colors, like very bright, very pastel-y and vivid and girly and all this stuff. So I did my reason why here on this card, and then I did my supporting words. So at the beginning, my supporting words for becoming were change, inspire, and balance. And then I would like to invite, that was the prompt, and then I hope to let go of. And so those I have like sitting here in these pockets. And if I can get, I don't remember how I had them tiered here, but yeah, so my word was becoming. And I think my thing about that was that I kind of want, well, for one, my word for 2021 was a phrase, a gentle unfurling, which is basically a phrase that I've been keeping throughout my entire unraveling journal journey ever since Seuss basically gifted me with that beautiful phrase in a comment when we were talking about New Year intentions one year. And she just wrote whatever I had said to describe like my process. She's just like, she described it as a gentle unfurling. And I loved it. I love that phrase. It sounds pretty and it kind of rolls off your tongue. And I try my best to grow or to like find some place to go. I don't know. I feel like I'm always a work in progress. I don't know if other people feel like that, but I always feel like I can always be better at something. Mostly be better as a better person. I can constantly be growing because you can constantly be learning and all the things. And I'm always trying to better myself as a person. I always try to be more aware of things, more mindful, practice more mindfulness, gratitude, all the things. And so, you know, just that, a gentle unfurling. Unfurling is like another word for unraveling, but it's so pretty. So that was my phrase for 2021, and one of my supporting words for that phrase was becoming. And so I decided to use becoming. That spoke to me for 2022 because I just had this idea of like the person that I wanted to become, like the person that I want to be. I'm not her yet, and so becoming is that process to be her. And so that was my whole thing. You know, that's why I have beginning to be that person that I want to be. And for me, the supporting words were change, inspire, and balance. Change, because I know in order to be that person, I'm going to have to change. I'm going to have to change things about myself, or, you know, things that I need to work on that I know I need to work on. You know, change, that's change. I need to, you know, kind of change my mindset. That was a huge thing for me, was changing my mindset and the way that I not process my thoughts, but the thoughts that I do have, you know, because, you know, we are our thoughts, right? Our life is what we think, is what we think it, right? We think it and then it happens. It's that whole sort of law of attraction idea. And so change in that aspect. Inspire, I constantly want to feel inspired and I constantly want to inspire. And I feel like that's kind of like the person that I want to be. I want to be an inspiration, but I also want to be inspired as well, like all the time. And then balance. And I put balance there because I feel like, you know, a lot of people kind of teeter on one side more than the other. And it's always unbalanced. Like we're constantly fluctuating between the two sides. And I realize if I'm going to be content, which is as close to happiness and joy as possible, there needs to be some sort of balance. And so just kind of cultivating that. And I wanted to invite in more bravery, you know, balance of my mind, spirit, and all the aspects of my life, and an inner peace so that I can ultimately, you know, cultivate love, right? And then what I wanted to let go of was excessive worry about things that are out of my control, which I have a very hard time to doing, and things and people that no longer serve me, which I definitely have a very hard time doing. And so that was the first lesson. Usually is that for one little word, and I just have it here in this pocket. The next page is sort of like a hello, January. I tabbed all of mine, so I have these tabs in my shop, and I just kind of hand wrote and glued down January on there. But this is, I think this was like a Webster's Pages when you get the planner, yeah, vellum, and it said hello, and so I put a gentle unfurling because that's just like my, I don't know if mantra is the right word. I don't know if that's the right term, but it's definitely my motto, a gentle unfurling. It's like my guide in a way, like my life guide. It's a reminder. I even got a necklace that in the back, it says a gentle unfurling on it. It's just a reminder that you're always growing. You're always growing. You're always learning, and you're always evolving. You're always unraveling and learning new things and finding all those gems, like Susanna Conway said, you know, that you didn't know was inside of you, but it's there. It's just you have to kind of peel back all the layers to find it. And so that's what that means for me. And so I just kind of repeated it there. And then, of course, the dates of the year. And then I always do some sort of stats page in the beginning of this sort of type of journal. And so this was it, except instead of using a photo of me from the beginning of January, I used a photo of me from, I believe, like 9 years ago. Well, it'll be 10 years ago this year, 2023. But yeah, this is the first sort of photo series that I actually shared on my website when I started, I guess, sharing more of my creativity, my creative outlet, and sort of discovering what that was. And like, I'm gonna share this story eventually on the channel. I keep saying that with these flip throughs, but I'm gonna share it. I have to share it because it would make so much sense to you as the viewer of my videos to know where I'm coming from, because a lot of what I'm gonna share, or I'm planning, I'm hoping that I can like just kind of do it. I'm scared, which means I know I have to do it. I kind of want to conquer my fears this year, which ties into what my word is going to be for this year. And it's a big part. Sharing my story is a big part. Sharing the story that I don't think I've ever shared here on my channel before is a huge part of that. So, yeah. So this photo for me has a lot of significance, and I think I journaled it out here. This is a photo of me circa 2014. So not 2013. I started my website in 2013. 2014. It was when I first introduced myself on my blog, when I made the shift to becoming creative. I just wanted it to include her here because I want to see that girl as she was, lost and confused. Oh my God, she was broken, and I was hoping that this year, through this process, I can finally heal her. There's a lot of background to that. There's a lot of things that came up for me at the ending of 2021 that I literally fought against the entire year 2022. And this was like a big representation of that. And I don't know, because at the beginning of 2022, I thought this is the year that I'm going to do the work. This is the year that I'm going to do the work to kind of heal that little girl that's in this picture, or the little girl that lives inside of me and stuff like that, so that it can become the person that I want to be. And so I put her here, and I totally forgot about her. And we will go on, because I did forget towards like the middle ending of this. I was so gun-ho in the beginning. I had all my intentions here, so I wrote up my intentions, and then these were some questions I believe that were in the course that I just answered here. And I'm not going to really read them, but you know, it's sort of like a more thorough, in-depth kind of processing of what I did here is that. And then of course I have a photograph for this month, and like some reflections, you know, me as a person, a partner, a daughter, and a friend, and my word through the lens of the roles that I play. I believe that was another prompt. And then of course that quote here, which honestly I feel like including this quote in every single journal, because it's just so, that's what I follow, right? It's like my little manifesto is those words from Susanna Conway. What I tend to do at the beginning of each year is cultivate I call it, I think on my Goodreads it's called unfurl. My bookshelf is called Unfurling, and it's I just tend to cultivate a list of books that I would like to read for the year, and I never reach my reading goal, like ever. But it's okay, as long as I read 12 books this year, which is quite amazing because I have a hard time just reading like one. But it's a mixture, and I'll leave a link to my Goodreads if you want to friend me there and look at my bookshelves, but it's a mixture of sort of like that whole new agey spirituality, self-help books with creative books. So I have another bookshelf called art books, and then like just general fiction to get me in between, because I'm a fiction reader. I love young adult. YA is like my place. It is my happy place. All the books that I like to read are in that genre, and that is how I read. But there are a bunch of these sort of personal growth self-help books that I do want to get through, and I find them so difficult to read because I'm just not a nonfiction person. I like having a story. I I like fiction. I love, children's books. That's what I like. So I have to intersperse the YA with those books. And then I have tons of art books. I collect so many art books that I just never do. And so they just kind of pile up as I get them. And so I kind of interweave them into the reading list, which helps because then I get creative ideas from it. And that's kind of like my whole unraveling process. It's like parts personal growth, self-help, and part art, part kind of experimentation and learning through art, and then all about telling my own story. And so I usually have a book list, and usually I write down the book list, but I decided this year to write out the books as I finish them. And so these are the ones that I finished this year, my 2022 reading list, and this is what I ended up reading. And then I have a beautiful photograph here of the stack of books that I hope to have read, and I don't think I read any of these. Oh wait, no, I read a few of them on this list. Some of them were rereads too that I didn't actually reread. But yeah, so this was like a page that I kept in here, and I would come back and add the books as I read them or as I finish them. And yeah, reading does make me happy. For me, I'm a slow reader, so I need time. I need time to do it, and there's just so many other things that I would prefer doing instead sometimes, and you just need time. For me, I need time because I read terribly slow, but I wish I could read more. I wish I had more time to read more, I guess. This was February, so this is January, and then my February tab is over here. I just try to put the tabs where I know they would kind of peek out, so that's why it's there instead of this little tip in here. But February was a vision board, and I do these in my Unraveling journal anyway, so I loved that the February prompt for one little word was a vision board, because I used to do them for each season, but then I did like this 4-page kind of vision board here that I just did it once, the one time. And so this was my vision board for the February prompt, and this, I believe, was all about home. So there are a bunch of things that I want. So vision boards are, you're supposed to kind of visualize what you want in your life, right? They're supposed to be a visual representation of the things that you want to happen, to manifest, etc., your dreams. And a huge part of last year for me was I really want my own space. I want my own home. I want that place that I can legit just call mine, and it just can be my sanctuary, basically. And I have all these things. I have a separate journal for it and everything like that. And I really wanted that. And so this is kind of what I visualized for it. It did not happen in 2022, but hopefully it'll happen in 2023. Who knows? But this was the vision for it, right? This was the beginnings of the vision, and this is very abstract here, but I have a cute little cottage home there. I have a lot of garden stuff because I really kind of want my home to be nature-y in some way. I would love a garden. I would love a house. I don't think I'm in the financial area to have a house by myself on my own, just because of kind of like the housing crisis that we are currently in at the moment and stuff like that. But that's the vision, right? That's the vision for it. So I have a lot of nature and flowers and living among nature, and that feels like home, and like little sentiments like that. And so that's what this spread, represents. I have a little kitten here because at the time I was missing of 2 cats that I love very dearly, and I was missing them a lot. And I'm like, you know what? This looks like little Ellie girl, and I want a cat. When I have my own place, I want my own cat. So this thread was more of sort of the things that I wanted to cultivate, more of the hobbies that I kind of want to either revisit or start up again, etc., etc. Books. My intention was to read. I read 12 books, which is amazing, but I think this is definitely coming in with me to the new year, into this year. I want to just read more. That's always going to be a goal of mine, is to read more than I have. I know 12 books is a lot for people who generally just don't read, that's very little for me, but I just want to read more books. And so that was what this was about. This was more of, I'm constantly cultivating a style just in my wardrobe, in my life in general. And so that was a representation of that. The cameras was, I wanted to get back into the whole creative self-portrait thing and photography and stuff like that. Didn't kind of do it this year, but that's something that I wanted to do. I wanted to learn how to ride a bike, and I bought myself a yellow bike just like this one to learn, and I just never did. And so these were little things. I wanted to be out more in nature and be more intentional about going out into nature, which I kind of sort of did, but it's very hard to do that when you live in a big city like New York City. And I don't drive, so it's not like I can get out of the city by myself. And generally, nowadays, I do a lot of things by myself. I mean, I've always done a lot of things by myself because it's very hard to find people to want to do things that you kind of want to do, right? Or that have the means to help you do those things. And I am the type of person who can never ask for help, because I feel like everyone around me is really, really busy. And to ask them for something means that I'm kind of bothering them and burdening them with, I guess, my needs, even though I need help to do them. I'm slowly learning that it's okay to ask for stuff from other people, whether it's to hang out or if you need help with something or you're going through something, that it's okay to reach out. That's kind of how you learn who's there for you and who isn't. And I know a lot of people are busy, but the people who truly, really do care will make the time for you. And that was a huge lesson. Honestly, that was a huge kind of inner lesson that I needed to learn in 2022. And I'm hoping to be more mindful of that going into this new year. Then this page is all about love, I believe. No, it wasn't. I lie. This spread, I think, is all about self. Like, I put this girl here from a Victoria magazine, and I just love the look of her. I put here, born to be real, not to be perfect. The more you let go, the higher you rise. This was about self. This was about self and the process of becoming, growing. It was a representation, visual representation of my word, and the intention for the word is what that is. This little thing is about love. And this was like a picture that I printed out. This was something that I had written to kind of superimpose on top of the picture, but I just kind of put this representation of love here because I thought I found it. Turns out I probably didn't, or maybe I did, but the other person just didn't love me back. And so this is something that I think I deeply wanted this last year. And so I put it here because I wanted it. And that's a whole thing that I will probably talk about later when I'm still not so kind of emotionally invested in that and the outcome of that. But yeah, so that was that. And this was my little, I think we did a mind map of our word. And I took a cue from Azari. She had put a Polaroid in the center of hers. She did something similar, so I decided to put a Polaroid in the center of mine, but of the picture of me, and then my word, and then all the things that, kind of wanted to cultivate so that I can be that person, right? And then I found this in a magazine, I don't know which magazine, and it said, the space that unfurls over the distance is a zone of discovery when explored with great effort and honesty, which I thought was really pretty. Kind of sums up the unfurling process, and it has unfurl in it. So I just kind of put that there. So I put my mind map in here. I did my mind map a little sloppily somewhere else, and then I just did it neater in here. And so that was February, and that was the vision board aspect of the course. This page was not a prompt at all for one little word. This was more of sort of my own sort of unraveling thoughts and stuff like that. I had written something on my now private Instagram account, and I kind of wrote this that, as I was doing 2 months in to the process with my word, I realized that a word that I really want, that kept coming up for me a lot in the beginning of 2022 was joy. was joy, was happiness and joy, and finding joy and cultivating joy, and feeling joyful, and doing all the things out of love and joy and passion and stuff like that, because I felt like I was kind of lacking in the joy. And that makes sense because I was very, very sad in 2022 for reasons that I will explain. I know I keep saying that, and I hate being so vague because I've said it in previous journal flip throughs. I really hate being so vague. And I do in my head have, you know, an idea just to sit in front of the camera and kind of explain that. It's very personal. It's basically heartbreak. And but I do feel like, I know no one needs to know my own personal business, but especially not on my crafty channel, right? But I feel like the way that I want to share more of my journaling and more of my process, especially my unraveling process, I feel like I need to share more of my story and more of the actual things that I go through on a daily basis, which I tend to be more reserved and vague about. I know I've always been vague about it, but it's just a thing. It's a thing that I want to change. I kind of want to be more open. I really appreciate watching vloggers who, you know, literally share their entire, not entire lives, but they share a big part of their lives with their audience, and they're able to be vulnerable in that way and like make a connection with complete strangers online. I don't feel like I am very good at making connections with complete strangers online, and that's only because I haven't given my chance to be vulnerable here in this space. And I realize like if I ever want to create that connection with people, I do need to be a little bit vulnerable. Maybe not too much, because, you know, I have a tendency of when I get to that point of just sharing too much. But yeah, it's just a thing. But I was going through some things, and that was a thought that kept reoccurring in my head. And so I decided to change up my my words for the year. And so I have becoming, change, balance, and joy. That is what I ended up altering my words to, are becoming, which was my word, and then change, balance, and joy instead of change, inspire, and balance, because once, you know, I feel like once I change and find my balance, then I can find the joy that's inside of me. And then once I find the joy, I can inspire. And then I said my heart is saying yes, to like that new kind of structure of my words. And so that was just something that I needed to get into my journal here, because it was a very big moment for me. And it's okay to change your words. You know, yeah, you already established that these are your words, your main word and your supporting words, but it's okay to change them if you feel called to and compelled to do so. And then this little thing here, this was like an outtake from a bunch of pictures that I had taken, that honestly, this whole series of self-portraits that I took, I didn't like any of them. I look so goofy here. I love my bright pink glasses that I had gotten and everything. So I just kind of put this here, and then I did a little exercise that I've created for myself, which was things I genuinely like about myself, because I don't think we do this often. And as females, I really don't think we do this often. We're always nitpicking. I know me as a perfectionist is always, oh, you're always nitpicking about things that you can fix about yourself, or that you would like to change, or things that you're not happy with. And so I decided to flip it because I was feeling so bad, you know, just in general about everything, you know, things that I genuinely like about myself. And then I made a list. And the fact that I made such a long list is amazing. I feel like once you get like 2 or 3 things, more things, like once you kind of force yourself to pinpoint and pay attention, you will find things that you like about yourself. And I think this is an excellent process to do wherever you are in your own personal journey, because it's sort of like an exercise in gratitude, which I'm beginning to understand that is such a good thing to do too. It's just to get a recap of the things that you have now that you are grateful for, finding the joy and the happiness and the beauty in what you have now, and focusing on that as opposed to the things that you want. And Lord knows I focus a lot on the things that I want that I don't have. And I feel like if I keep focusing on the things that I want and don't have, that's where I'll end up being a year later, you know, not having that thing that I want. It's a process, but that was a little exercise that I did for myself. And then this was March. So I think March's tab is hidden somewhere over here. Yeah, it's kind of hidden. But this was Liz's prompt of having a conversation with your word. And so I did my conversation here and here, and then underlined all the things and like she said, and then I made my poem. I wrote my poem, and then I took a line from my poem and made my little spread here. And I really loved this prompt, honestly. So I know I mentioned Susanna Conway a lot. I love Susanna Conway. Liz Lamoureux is amazing. She was pretty much the main reason why I signed up for One Little Word in 2022, because I love Liz. I love her book. I've taken 3 of her classes. I just love her essence. I just love how she kind of weaves things. I love that she loves poetry. I just love everything that she shares, and it just resonates with me. I loved this prompt. I love that she had us write a poem at the end of it. And so what I did was, since I had a conversation with my word, right? This was my conversation with my word. This was, I think, me, and then the green is my word. And what I ended up doing was wrote all the things, and then I read through all of the stuff, and I just kind of underlined the words or the phrases that jumped out at me from both conversations. And what I did was I took those words and phrases and I kind of turned them into a poem. And so my poem is a back and forth of me and my word, me and then my response to my word. And so my poem, I'm going to read it here because, this is what it was, and I feel okay sharing this. The chance to begin again, daydreaming of my future life. There's hope in that. Hope is also in my heart. I'm longing for him to pick me. I'm longing for simple and love. You deserve to be loved, it says. You deserve to find happiness. You are worthy. The light inside me is a fluttering butterfly ready to escape and fly away. It looks like unquestionable happiness. It looks like an overgrown garden of bright flowers. You're worth more than you know, it says. Live in the and space, and be that person that brings light and sparks joy and cries. I did a lot of crying last year, but so I love that line at the end, be that person that brings light and sparks joy and cries. And this is just a whole, Liz shares this idea of the and space and how we all live in the and space. And that's just, it's basically what she calls that space, that dichotomy where, like, if you lose a loved one, you have those people who at the funeral, they're telling stories and they're laughing. They're sharing stories about that person and celebrating their life and the joy that they had with them, and they are laughing. And then you have people on the other side of the room who are sobbing because both of those emotions can live together in that moment of loss. And that is the and space. It's the opposite emotions. You can feel happy but also cry. You can spark joy and inspire other people when you're sad and hurting yourself. Like, it's possible to be those both things. It's possible to feel those things. It's life. We all live in the end space at some point. And so that's what this was for me. Be that person that brings light and sparks joy and cries. And then I took a bunch of selfies that month in March, and so I just kind of compiled all of them here. That's what I try to do this year, is that every month I try to include some sort of selfie. I didn't do it every month, but I just tried. I tried to have a selfie for each month. So that was March. April, I forgot what the prompt was because I didn't do it. But what I did do was journaling. I journaled hard feelings. Here's my selfie for April. I just journaled a lot what was in my heart. Like this helped me a lot in 2022, which is the straight up getting in here and journaling. And so I'm not going to read that. We're just going to go right over it. May, I did May musings, which was more, I forgot what the prompt was for May, to be quite honest, but I just wrote a little bit of how I was feeling in May. This is my selfie for May. It was a picture that I took with my friends that I went to go visit in Tennessee, but I just loved this. I loved my time with them, and I just needed that in here. What I did learn and discover, so I do this a lot in my unraveling journals. Not so much this year, like very little that I've done this year, but I'm very into psychology and personal growth and all that kind of stuff. And I know that whole thing that we all have 5 love languages. There's 5 love languages, and for us, each of us have a different hierarchy of those 5 love languages. What I didn't know was that there's a such thing as the 5 apology languages, that we all receive apologies differently. What might be an apology to somebody else is not necessarily what I think of an apology as. And so I did the little quizzy testy thing, and this was my hierarchy of apologies: plan change, make a restitution, expressing regret, accept responsibility, and request forgiveness. It is how I guess people should apologize to me. So it makes complete sense why I'm still waiting for an apology from someone who probably did mean to apologize but didn't do it right, or didn't do it in a way that I was receptive to, because this is how I sort of receive apologies. It's amazing how we as individuals kind of, just kind of receive and perceive things differently. You know, we all receive love differently. We all share and give love differently. And like once you begin to notice that within yourself, then you can begin to notice it in other people that you love, and then you can treat them like that. See, that's the thing. It's like people can notice these things about other people in their lives, but for some reason they don't act upon it. And like for me, it's just so mind-boggling and like enlightening for myself when I learn things about myself. I try when I, learn something about myself, I eventually do see it in other people, and I try to, apply it, like, okay, so this is how this person gives love. This is how they show me their love. Even if for me that doesn't feel like love, if that makes sense. That's usually how that works. And the same with apologies, but still, like it was a thing, and I needed to get it in here. I didn't do very much journaling on it, which is unfortunate because normally I would print stuff out like this and then write about it. But this one, I think all I had in me, that I was capable to do at the time, was just to make a pocket and print out my results and put it in here. And so that is May. For June, it was like a check-in, which I know I always do in my unraveling journal, my regular unraveling journals. I do a mid-month check-in, or mid-year, that's what it's called. I think in my other unraveling journal I said mid-year, oh my goodness, mid-year check-in. And so Allie, she had something similar in her course, and so I just answered, instead of creating my own questions for myself, I just answered the questions from the class, and that's what I have in here. For July, August, and September, I did the daily practices. I forget which month this was for. This was either for April or May's month. The daily practices, I didn't do it in those months. I ended up doing it July, August, and September. July, I dedicated it to journaling, or daily journaling. August, I dedicated it to reading. September, I dedicated it to art, and this is just the outcome of that. Yeah. That's all I can say about this. That's what it is. July was Felicitas's prompt, which was finding the little wins, and I really, really enjoyed this because I was able to get messy and use my art supplies and mixed media and all this stuff, and I followed her prompt to a T. I made my background papers. I typed up all of my little wins currently for that time, and yeah, and like these are just so, like, some of them are really trivial wins, like actually wearing most of my pretty dresses and rompers this summer, even if I have nowhere to go. Like, it's just like really just, yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't know what else to say besides that. But I tried to put like just little wins, like even so much as getting out of bed most mornings when I'm tired and sad. because I know we've all been there where we just feel a certain way and all we want to do is sleep. Little wins. And so that is my page of little wins here, and that was for July. August's prompt was begin again, and what I did was just journal about that. Just a lot of journaling. I intended to put a selfie here and it never happened. So September, I didn't do September's prompt. I don't know what September's prompt was, to be quite honest. I feel like September might have been the photo diary. There was a photo diary prompt. I didn't do it. Instead, I wrote about the significance of September and a particular day in September and how it now has double significance for me, and just what that felt like and what that means now and how I need to process that and work through it. That was all September. October was, I think this was Crystal's prompt with the interview, the other person interviewing you. I didn't do that because generally I don't really have people who I share my one little word unraveling stuff with unless they watch my channel. But personally I don't really share, and so in my head I'm like, who can I ask? And honestly, whose opinion do I want this year when I've just been like a crappy mess of a person like the whole entire year? Like there are moments where I haven't been a good person this year, and there are moments where I have been a shell of the person that I am. And yeah, it was just not. So I basically just used the questions that she provided and just answered them for myself. And this was just a nice way to just reflect on my journey. November was Allie's whole I am thing, and so I did my little thing here and I used some Felicity Jane puffy alphas to kind of like write a bunch of words. This is definitely a very good descriptor of how I was feeling then. And then I love this, what Allie gave these I am cards, and I try to do them throughout the month, and I just stamp the date on the back. And this was a good way for me to check in and see how I am at that moment. And so that was November's. And then December's with the whole reflection, which I just did the whole prompts here, and it's just a lot of journaling, a lot of reflecting of feelings and things. And then I think here I have 2 quotes, things that I shared on my Instagram. One was a legit Jeanette Winterson quote, and the other one was my response to that Jeanette Winterson quote. These have a lot of significance for me now. It's really funny 10 years later that they have significance again, but they do. So I just put that in here because I wanted to, I just printed these out to do my photo for Instagram instead of tossing them. I'm like, you know, these are relevant. Let's put them in the journal. And then this page, I just kind of journaled out, I think November's Zoom call, Liz read a poem, and the little exercise at the end of that poem was, do you see it yet? I forget what the poem was. I would have to go back to the video and find what the poem was. You know, she mentions it. And so I kind of journaled my response in my planner, and then I actually shared it in that call. And that was a very big, vulnerable moment for me. But I really liked what I shared and what I kind of wrote out in my planner, that I just copied it more fluently into my journal so that I can have it in here. And that's it. That is this. I really kind of wish I did more in this journal, but let's be real. 2022 was a very difficult time for me emotionally, and I am just proud of what I actually got journaled in like all the journals that I kept. Like, you have no idea how proud I am that I was able to do that for myself. Granted, I know I didn't share a lot of it, and that's just because, you know, I will speak on this more again in that video that I promised myself that I'm going to do, even though I'm petrified of it. But like, I kind of felt through my sadness and my grief that I kind of lost a little of who I was or who I am. I feel changed in a way that I don't like feeling. And yeah, which is why I didn't create a lot to share last year, because I kind of forgot who I was. And so being able to come into my journals the way that I have was a huge thing. It was huge. It's, it took a lot of energy just to do that. So I'm quite proud of the journals that I kept this year. And yeah, so before I get any more emotional, even though you can't see, but that is my Unraveling journal, my one little word journey for 2022. I really hope you enjoyed a look at this journal and all the other journals, because I have like a whole slew of journal videos that have been going up. But yeah, really hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. I have a feeling that that really personal video will be coming out way before this video. Hopefully that is my intention. But as I'm filming all of these journal flip-throughs, the journal flip-throughs have been coming first, even though I'll probably release them probably after that video. We will see. In any case, I'm saying things that are completely vague and mysterious, but I'm not doing it intentionally. It's just, it's a power dynamic within myself, basically, that I'm having right now. But yeah, that is my journal. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you all for being here all the time, especially the ones that are always here. Like, I know there are people who have been watching for years and they don't comment, and that is fine. I am one of those people with my favorite like creators. And then there are those of you who I see you. I see your names, I see your handles. You are constantly a presence, and I so appreciate. I so appreciate you taking the time out to leave me a comment, even if I don't respond, because I'm just not in the mindset or the capacity to respond. I really appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching my videos, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.